Welcome into another edition of the Utah Lacrosse Recap. My name is Dane Stewart, and just a reminder, you can catch this recap on both the weekly Utah Lax podcast as well as on KSLSports.com. We've got another great interview for you this week. Had a chance to sit down with Brad Searle, the head coach of the boys Fremont lacrosse program. And of course, want to remind you, these interviews are brought to you by Tribal West Lacrosse, the premier destination for all of your lacrosse needs, located right here in Sandy at 9860 South, 700 East. If you have anything from team sales to tape, mesh, stringing, whatever your lacrosse needs are, they will take care of you at Tribal West Lacrosse. We also want to thank Heidemann and Associates, full-service law firm with locations along the Wasatch Front. If you have any legal needs, the experts at Heidemann Associates can take care of you. For a free consultation, tell Rewind sent you, and just call 801-472-7742. But without any further ado, let's get to my interview with Coach Brad Searle out of Fremont High School. All right, please be joined by Brad Searle, the head coach of the Fremont Boys Lacrosse team. Coach, thank you so much for the time today.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
So, Coach, would love to just, as I get to know more people in the sport, I haven't covered it, haven't been around it nearly as long as you or others, but always just love to understand what's their background in the game. What's your familiarity with lacrosse, your background in lacrosse, and how'd you get into coaching?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit different than some of the other coaches. I never played the game, didn't really understand the sport. And when my middle boy, Porter, in fourth grade decided to play it, I went to his practices, and I'm just standing on the sideline, and Brian Goldsberry, who was coaching, has coached up in the Fremont program for a long time, said, well, if you're just going to stand there, why don't you come over and coach? And I'm like, well, I've coached baseball, I've coached basketball, but I don't know nothing about lacrosse. And so 15 years ago, that journey started to begin.
Wow.
We just took it from there. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it just kind of just started that journey. Started coaching in the junior program for 7, 8, 9 years, and then got into the high school program, and now I'm here in the fourth year, of sanctioned lacrosse.
Yeah. So is this were you a head coach with any club teams prior to being once it got sanctioned, being head coach at Fremont?
No, just worked in the junior program. I always joke around and always say I'm the best YouTube coach out there. When I got into the sport 15 years ago, there really wasn't a lot of, tutorials and things you could get on the internet. I remember one of the only things that I could hunt down was Duke lacrosse back on the East Coast. Coach Danowski would put out 3 or 4 webinars every year. And that was about all I could find on how to understand and grow understand the game and grow the game as well.
Wow, that's crazy to me. Man, talk about just drinking from a water hydrant, right? Trying to find sources of information and how to coach a team. That's crazy.
It was, I always go back to one of my first games that I coached 5th, 6th grade. And I remember the official calling offsides. And I'm like, what's offsides? So I'm like, hey, ref, come here for a second. Hey, you got to explain this offsides to me. So he kindly tried to explain the offsides to me. And, I've been a student of the game. I love the game. And so for me, I have to go about it a little bit different in coaching, where, not have played the game before. I'm probably more analytical, more X's and O's, because I really have never been out on that field.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy to me. Well, and then because, you think about coaches that have success, or ones that are going to have a lot of deep experience in the game. And obviously, being a coach and coaching the youth leagues in 14 years, there's a lot of background there. But, man, that's fascinating to me. And then last year, you get this Fremont program to a state championship game, but I want to talk about that semifinal because you're playing Davis, a region rivalry. Yeah. That game goes to overtime. Talk about classic. That game, Coach.
Yeah, that was an all-time classic. That's one that I still watch, just because it's just got so much energy and there's
Yeah.
so much passion on the field. Davis is just a great rivalry for us, and we both have had great programs for a number of years, and this year they've got a great team as well. And
Mhm.
we go up, and we're up 2 or 3 by at halftime. And I told my team, I said, "Listen, I know this. I know Coach Yoakum and Trevor." And I said, "Listen, they're going to come out and punch us in the mouth."
Yeah.
Comes the start of the second half, and they did. And man, it ended up being a doozy.
I mean, that overtime winner, I still just remember it was the freshman from X, right? Just coming around and feed a pass right to the side of the cage and able to finish it.
We're kind of a unique program in the sense, and I know there's other programs like this, but we don't have just a ton of boys coming out. Like I've never had more than 48 boys try out.
Oh, wow.
We usually end up with, 38, 39, 40 boys. And so for us, playing a ninth grader or a 10th grader, it's very, very normal for us because we kind of just
Mm.
take what we have and we make the best lacrosse players out of them. And that next game where we played Corner Canyon, in the finals,
Yeah.
I mean, we had, I want to say we started 3 ninth graders and played 7th, 9th graders that game.
Oh, my word.
Um, yeah, and we were down with injury and all
Yeah.
sorts of things, but we just kind of take what we have and we make the best of it.
Well, what was that like playing in a state championship game? I mean, obviously seeing this program grow and get to that. I mean, what was that like walking and be like, oh my gosh, we're in the championship, and to see Corner Canyon on that other line, right?
Yeah, and we've been watching Corner Canyon. We've played Corner Canyon years before when we were not sanctioned, so we knew, just how good they were, and the coaching staff down there is just fantastic. It was a little overwhelming for us all. I mean, that was a big stage for us, and it's one of those learning experiences.
Yeah.
You really have to go through it and experience it to understand it. And so that's kind of what that experience was for Fremont lacrosse.
You had such prolific scores last year. You talked about Davis, but also Carson Isaacson. I think they each had over 70 goals last year. And, obviously, the last duo to kind of do that was Mason Quick and John King at Corner Canyon, 3, 4
Yeah,
years
great
ago.
players.
Uh, they're coming back, and all the expectations getting to a state championship game last year. Did you feel that expectation on the program this year coming into the season?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's been a whole different year, and I'll be honest with you. Up to that game against Davis, we felt it as the coaching staff. The boys felt it, and we lost that game 13-9. And
Yeah.
it really was. No one wants to lose, but it really was a good thing because it kind of just took all that expectation off of, okay, we've got to go out here and we've got to keep working hard. We've got to play hard. We've got to execute if we're going to get to where we want to be at the end of the year, right? We know we've got
Yeah.
obstacles in the way now. And so I think it really helped us in the sense that our boys are even more focused now to get back there and experience that feeling again.
Yeah. What is it like coaching Davis and Carson? They're so talented. I mean, you see the stats and it's like, oh my gosh, like they can find the back of the net seemingly whenever they want. What's it like to try to coach players at that level and with their skill set?
Well, pretty easy, right? They just do really most of the work. It's interesting, and being in a position where I'm at, never played the game, I'd lean on them quite a bit. I get their insight. They've played at that higher level. They've been coached by some just fantastic coaches the last number of years at that higher level. So I get their insight. I have those conversations with them. I talk with them. What do we need to change? What if we do this? How do you guys, view this? And so they're kind of an integral part of, helping us decide of what we're doing out on that field.
Uh, Davis, obviously, you're his father. You mentioned Porter now at UVU, and you really got into coaching when he started playing as a youngster. What is it like as a dad to coach your sons, and how do you try to manage that relationship to maintain kind of the coach relationship and the father relationship and not have those interfere?
Yeah. Um, hopefully I don't get too emotional on this, but I love coaching, right? And I love coaching the boys that I have. I'm just blessed that I get to coach and I've been able to coach my own boys. And I always joke around, and sometimes it's been really easy for me as a dad coach because my boys have been so good. And there's really never that question, whether they should be on the field or not on the field, whether they should be playing or not. But it's you never get back time. And because I've been able to be with them all the time, it's made coaching just absolutely wonderful. But I've coached all three of my boys. I've got one that's older than Porter Easton, and every time I get my older boys, the boys that I've coached in the past come out to the games, or I run into them at the gas station or something like that. I mean, it's an overwhelming experience, and it's part of why I coach. That's the reward, is that I get not just three boys that live here at the house, but I get a whole group of boys that I get to have that relationship with, and I get to help mentor and be part of their lives.
Yeah, that's I think sometimes people don't realize as a coach, they do become your family, right? So I
Oh
love that you
yeah,
just call it out. It's more than three boys. You got 43 boys this year, right?
oh yeah,
So that's
yeah,
awesome.
and a whole bunch of parents.
Yeah, that's right. What is that like trying to manage? Because one of the things for us, covering this state, it feels like Fremont. It's a big school. It's a 6A, but yet there is a community tie in that program. Very much like at Davis. There's a great tradition in Davis. There's a big
Yeah.
community tie with Fremont. What is that like with parents that are so invested in a program, in a community, and obviously with Westfield coming, we may see that change a little bit. But what is that like coaching in such a tight knit community when there are so many kids? There might not be a lot in lacrosse, but there are a lot of kids in that program, in that
Oh yeah.
community. What's that like managing some of those parent relationships?
You know what? It's what I love about coaching at Fremont, right? This tight community that we have. I mean, what starts from our administration at Fremont? They've been absolutely fantastic to boys and girls lacrosse of getting it up and going, and just being a great support. But we try to get the community involved. Every year we do a first responder night where we honor all of our first responders out there, and then on another night we do our military appreciation night, and we bring the whole community into these games, and we honor our veterans, and we hand out thank you cards to them, and we bring some down. We tell their stories at the games, and so um, that's part of high school sports, right?
Yeah.
That's the Friday night lights that boys dream about, and it's the environment, it's the love of the game, the love of the community. And like so many programs, we've been blessed with such great parents that help support our program, and they do so much, and it makes my job as a coach just so much easier of them taking care of all the other stuff. um, the traditions, the
Yeah.
events that we do, to where we can just go out and coach.
You talk about some of the, again, that Fremont community. We talk about Davis. It's up north. I guess I live in the Salt Lake Valley. I have a
Mhm.
perception that up north, Fremont, Weber, some of those communities, you don't see as much player movement, as much player transfers as you do maybe down in the heart of the valley or Utah County. And so I think there's a lot of embedded kind of like, yeah, I play for Fremont or I play for Weber, and kids grow up with
Yeah.
that. Means you have a lot of rivalries up north. You had a rivalry game this week, Fremont and Weber. What's it like to coach in some of those rivalries that have been around for a long time, regardless of sport?
Yeah, no, man, I love those games, right? And just like the Davis game, and Farmington's starting to become, a big rivalry up there, and Weaver's been a big rivalry with Fremont when, they split so many years ago. The energy is jacked up, another 50 to 100% of those games, and the passion. You can just see it in the boys, they play harder, a little chippier, maybe a little more trash talking out there on it. But at the end of the night, right, it's just a game. And these rivalries that we go out and, we go and act like we don't like each other for 48 minutes, but yet these boys after the game are, getting pictures with each other, getting hugs, catching up on things. I mean, that's just the power of the rivalry and power of sports in general.
I hear the line "compete without contempt," and I love that. Right? It's that sort of thing. It's like, look, we're at for 48 minutes, right? And then the battle's over, brothers again, right?
Brothers again, always brothers. And lacrosse, I think most coaches would agree, it's a big family. And we support everybody. We support all lacrosse, boys, girls lacrosse. We support all teams. It's just a unique little, family that we have here as we grow it in our state.
I didn't get a chance to ask you this question. We streamed that Fremont Weber game. That was a tight game, 6-5 at the half. And in the third quarter, you guys just came out, took control of possession. I think you outscored them 6-1. What was your message at halftime? How'd you get those boys to come out in that third quarter and have such a dramatic response and pull away?
Yeah, we know Weber. We played them. We knew that they were going to be scrappy, right? And we just said, listen, boys, just take a big breath, right? Just go out, run our game. Don't worry, there's no pressure. Just go out and play. And, and it's been kind of our downfall this year, to be honest with you. There's times we play just absolutely fantastic. And then there's sometimes that we kind of just take the foot off the pedal a little bit and we don't execute and we don't communicate on defense like we should. And you can kind of see those up and downs, in our games, and that kind of happened at Weber. And, it's funny, I told Coach Allred after, I said, man, I would not want to have to play you in the playoffs because they're just priming right now. You could just see, what he's building up there. And I was just glad that our boys battled back and kind of came out that third quarter with a little bit more oomph and kind of put a stamp on it.
Yeah, that Weber team, they're and he told me before the game, Coach Allred, he's like, we're a unit, right? We don't have a player, two players. We got a bunch of guys that play well together and they all know their roles. You've got guys that are headline guys. We already mentioned Carson and Davis. What makes them special? What helps them to stand out in the way that they do?
Well, I think a lot of it is that they have played together for so long, right? In the junior leagues, they've played competitive lacrosse for the last 10 years together, and so they just know it's the Stockton Malone dynamic. They know where they're going to be. They know where they have to put the ball. They know how they want to shoot the ball. They don't really even have to verbally communicate anymore. They just kind of know where to be. But what's great is that they help our team. I know that they've been so dynamic for so many years, but what they do on the field, in the games, and even more importantly, what they do at practice is that they help other boys become better. And they teach them, they show them, hey, do this. This is what I've learned. Try this. I hear it almost every practice. Just true leaders, true captains of the team. Pretty dynamic duo.
That's awesome. They're so fun to watch. That ball movement is so quick with them, and they are electric. And anyway, it's a great duo. So we mentioned you've got Porter. He's at UVU.
Yep.
What has maybe been a surprise that he has learned or that you've seen being his father about college lacrosse or what it takes to play college lacrosse?
Well, number one, it's a step up, right? You're getting they're grown men out there, and it's a lot more physical, and their understanding of the game, their lacrosse IQ, right? You can see those boys out there with UVU that just have that high level IQ, and the athleticism really is the next step up from high school lacrosse. Port, he's growing into it, coming into a second year, and it's just like high school. You kind of just have to take those steps, and you grow and you learn and you become better. And I think it's no different in college as it is in high school, but it's just played at a whole different level, speed wise, physicality wise. I can't wait to watch that game tonight against BYU and UVU. It's going to be a classic, I think, down there at Zion Stadium. So
Well, you talk about growing into it. I mean, he and Davis combined for what, 12 goals, 13 goals in 2 games this week. So
yeah, they kind of both maybe the brothers saying, well, if my little brother can do it, I can go out and do it too. And he had a fantastic game. I don't know exactly how many goals each of them got, but they played well, and
they did.
that makes the dad very proud.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. What is one thing when you look at the game? Obviously, I've been covering this game for about 4 years, so I'm very early on. Great, and every year I find myself just more enthralled with it. What is one thing that you feel like you'd love to change about the high school game?
One, I'd love to get the shot clock implemented into high school. I think that would, kind of like in the collegiate level, it would speed up that game. And it would be a faster paced, even a more dynamic game of getting that. But I think to help the high school level, there's a couple things. One, we've got to get better coaches, including myself, right? Like I said, there's a lot of dad coaches out there here in Utah just trying to learn the game. We've got to learn and understand the game better so we can teach that and pass that down onto the boys. I think there's an improvement in the officiating in the sense of getting more officials out there, getting more people that have played the game to get into officiating to help that. I think if that level raises as well, I think that also helps improve the high school level. I think growing the game is crucial, as most coaches will tell you. But we've got to just get involved in these communities and get these young kids out playing the game. And I think if we have, I listened to Coach Merrill, and and the amount of boys he has in his youth program, 185 or something like that. I thought, oh my goodness, how would it be? But that's the secret. I mean, that's the secret sauce right there to having a high school program is that youth program. And if you can develop and build that youth program in your community, in your area of where you go to school, your lacrosse, both boys and girls, will play and be at a high level experience for the team.
Coach, that was going to be my last question was, how do you help grow the game more? Both coaches and fans and parents and players and media. And I think you addressed some of that. But, I guess, are there other thoughts about how we get more youth? I mean, I know it's on coaches to establish youth programs and to try to bring kids out. But any other ideas that you've had just about, how to better grow the game or better support the growth of the game?
Well, I think first we've got to get the young kids involved, and we did something that we took from a lot of other schools this last couple of years is Trilax Out Night. It's the first time we did it, and we invited both boys and girls to come over to Fremont, and we had our high school kids come over and introduce them to the game of lacrosse and passing, catching, and doing all the fundamentals. What was interesting is we anticipated about 20 kids. And so we had resources for, this much, and we had 85 kids show up, and 30 of them were girls. And it was awesome. Like, we had the best night ever. And so we're scrambling, finding more balls and more goals, and we're calling players to come over and help. But people, I think there's a lot of people that want to get involved in this game, right? They need to know how, right? We've got to teach them. And once we get those kids involved, then we got to get the parents involved. Parent involvement is just crucial, especially at the junior lacrosse level, of getting on their boards and helping and making sure their programs are running right. But that's just something that we did here, in spring. We're going to do it again in fall because it was so successful, and not just successful, but it was a blast. Like we had just absolutely a fun night over there.
That's awesome. Hey, you do that a couple more times, you'll be right up with those Olympus numbers, yeah?
I'm hoping. That's our goal.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it. It was great to be able to understand your background and your program a little bit. I would ask, I am going to slide this in there because I asked this question to another coach. What are the core principles or core foundations of your lacrosse program? What's important for your program at Fremont, the culture that you're trying to build there or that you have built there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's important that every program has some type of mantra, that they're going after. And for us, we represent more than ourselves. And we try to teach the boys that when you're out on that field, you just don't represent you, right? You represent your family. You represent your mom and dad and your extended family. You represent the school, the student body. You represent the administration, and more importantly, you represent the community. And so we kind of pound this into these young men, and not just on the field, but our expectations at Fremont is that's how they act off the field as well. And just because they don't have the uniform on a given night doesn't mean that they get to act any differently and show respect and be kind and do those things that they should be doing. We hold our boys to a very, very high standard on that. Sometimes I can be a tough coach when it comes to that, just because that representation of what we look to stand for at Fremont is we just always have preached, we want to be one step better.
Yeah. I love that. One of my, I'm a big movie guy. One of my favorite movie scenes is from the movie Miracle. And Coach Brooks said, the name on the front means a heck of a lot more than the one on the back. And it's so that true. Right there, right?
Absolutely. That sums our little mantra up.
I love that. Coach, thank you. We really do appreciate the time and appreciate your support of us as we try to help support this game and the growth. But if there's ever anything we can do for you, thank you so much. You're doing great work up at Fremont. Keep it up, and we hope to see you make a deep playoff run again this year.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We want to thank Coach Searle for his time. Great to be able to understand his background better, tenets of his culture, and unique perspective as a father/coach and having boys played in high school and collegiately. Want to thank him for those things that he shared with us. And hey, just further proof, you don't have to have played this game for 5 or 10 years, right? If you recognize, hey, it's a great game, but I want to learn it, there's plenty of opportunities to be that in youth programs, officiating, assisting, just as Coach Searle has done to get to where he's at and taking a program to a state championship game last year and expect another deep playoff run from that group. But want to thank him for his time. Get out, get engaged, find an opportunity. They're all around you through youth programs, officiating. Don't hesitate to reach out and get involved in this great game. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors who make this interview possible, Tribal West Lacrosse, as well as Heidemann and Associates. If you have any legal needs, visit the experts at Heidemann and Associates. And of course, for all things lacrosse, no one's better suited to help you out than Tribal West. Please support our sponsors. They're the ones who allow us to bring this content to you. So I want to thank them for their sponsorship. Thanks again to Coach Searle. For Vince Francis, my name is Dane Stewart. Reminder, we'll have you content and videos, interviews all the way up into state championships on both these two platforms at Utah Lacrosse Report and KSLSports.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.